I'm gonna try and do it right this time. You read the title. You made the art political. You did. You did. But what I mean by that isn't to say that that is inherently a crime or a vicious act. But when people enjoy media, or when they enjoy any sort of literature, you've made it political. I think the act now of perception and analysis and then the labeling of a media after you've experienced it does become the politic. Because you're subject to not truly agree with someone else's perspective. But I really bring that up as to say this current time that we live in is wrought with so much stress, whether very ancient, very covert, or very new types of stress. And so when people make art or media or projects or messages that convey their stress, when people dissect that, especially without the proper tools, it does become political. But the area where a lot of people fail is where they gain the understanding. Like, sometimes you gotta swallow someone else's perspective for the sake of actually grasping something in a better way. Because everyone's perspective is like a lens to adopt that you can see through. And so, when you start to build your own lens out of the lenses of many, you start to see things that the one lens you had that you never really traded out for anything is a lot better than, well, a lot worse than the lens you built. But when we're talking about perceiving art, especially in today's age, people are going to comment on how they feel. They're going to comment on ancient stress. They're going to comment on new stress. But I think it's disingenuous when people point it out and then reject what's laid in front of them. If you understand that you disagree, why haven't you sought understanding? Not that necessarily the onus of that is on you. You get what I'm saying? To have to understand someone if you really don't want to. But people don't just make things for no true reason. And even when they do, your reaction to it definitely isn't nothing at all. And so oftentimes the assessments we make are truly going to be a deeper reflection of ourselves than it ever will be a more accurate projection of someone else. And this world is honestly trapped in disagreements, I'd like to think. But when someone makes a depiction or an image or some sort of vessel for a message through icon, lyric, number, anything of that nature, it can convey an idea greater than sometimes just words alone. But now in this country, I'd like to say the divided states of America specifically, people really don't like to read anymore. And that's so odd, honestly. Well, not odd. We know why. They made it so that we don't like reading, so that we can never digest ancient truths or even recent truth. And then we'll be subject to only feed upon the information that seems the easiest to consume, instead of what actually makes the most sense and the entirety of its texture. You get me? I go on this whole point of this country being a cannibal nation. I've said that in many videos. But I truly do mean that. In the past, the South was called out for its cannibal behavior. That was one of the deepest taboos when it came to enslavement. And when it came to down here, people feasted. Those who were bountiful feasted. But where that bounty came from was typically not the most truthfully gotten. And so now to see in this current time that a man born in the time of America's most segregated. So when you frame the lifespan of the African American identity in this land, we are in a current point right now of the dissolving within the stomach acid. We're already in the stomach being broken down at a molecular level. But before, at the point of integration, so like 1960, 1964, that was the ingestion. That's when we were consumed. 60 years ago, we were eaten. And we thought that we were joining. We thought we were leveling up. Well, I can't say that specifically. A lot of people did understand that integration wasn't the step forward that we thought it could be, or that many people hoped it would, because we were integrating with a cannibal nation. And I know that sounds odd to say, because I'm not saying that the average American is a cannibal, but there's a reason why they call us consumers. And when a man gets hungry enough, he'll eat a body, and they keep us in a mean state of hunger. And coming from a man that's seemingly so made of more bone than flesh, hunger makes you think. And sometimes hunger can get you twisted too. And twisted ways of thinking can emerge. But when I say all this, is to say that when you look at my art, you're going to see that stress, that caution of the cannibal nature that this country has worn all this time. All for its lifespan, it's worn this cannibal identity. That's the truth. It's rebranded it in many different ways. It's made it accessible in many different ways. But it always comes back to eating a nigga. Like genuinely. And that's the great sin they had us forget. They ate us. But the crime here is the adoption of white identity. Because that meant other people now had to forget their own identities too. It meant that people had to essentially almost cloak themselves in a vulture's skin to scavenge in a world that they had laid barren. Hey y'all, this is Editor Frog talking to you. I wanted to interrupt this program to let you know you need to read E-Kings on Webtoon. This is not the right camera. You need to be reading E-Kings on Webtoon. And also, check out my little yap on the Listening While Living podcast. I got like 2 different episodes on there. But even the episodes that I'm not on, honestly, give those a listen first. When I was first approached to come on, I gave all the episodes a listen. The podcast fit the vibe. So I was like, I had to go on. Y'all really should check out her work. Like, honestly, there are a lot of other people that's been active on this social media stuff, getting their knowledge out to people, putting folks on, like, really give them a chance. But also, read E-Kings on Webtoon. I work really hard on it, and I care a lot about it. I want y'all to experience it. That's why the Webtoon is free. It just comes out scheduled on a monthly basis. But the Patreon, you got to pay for it to come out early. That's just how it is. I'm sorry. And another thing, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment. Just let me know what you think. Let me know whatever art you've made today, or how maybe your life experiences tie into the work that you do. This can be an open discussion. You get what I'm saying? But let me know some. Show me a little love. That's all. Subscribe, chat. And it's hard not to ignore that the things I constantly think about cannot peek through in the things that I depict in my art. And it's odd because I do see art as like a spiritual practice in a way. But not as if to say that these images are some divine God above me. But that this is a way for me to reel in the world of the abstract into the concrete world. We have words that allude to the abstract, but other art forms truly give them form. Language is kind of like the bridge, and the art is like the body, the casing to truly deliver it a form here. And so if you've seen my other podcast videos, Cannibal Nation or Church Like Chitlins, you'll understand the relationship between consumption, capitalism, church, being black, all that. Like, you kind of get where I'm trying to come from. But even within Christian beliefs, there's the idea of, no false idols, no gods, no false gods before me. And if there are any Christians that are watching, you're free to correct me in the comments. I'm not here to attack you. This is just an expression of my stress, like I've stated earlier. But that idea of no false idols, what do you think that truly means? The main argument oftentimes against Christianity is that obviously you can't see God. They need you to feel Him. And so false idols can stray people from the idea of God. It traps the idea of God. That's why Christianity feels inconsistent to people outside of it, because God is very inconsistent. People are making their own individual vessels for God when they speak. And it reminds me of this this specific moment in the book Things Fall Apart. I read it in like 10th grade, and I really should get another copy and read it for myself. But I'm just remembering off first read. There was a scene where an African man, I think he was Igbo, and he's speaking to a Christian missionary through a translator, and he's like, my God is not within this votive. This votive is a representative of the God that I worship. It is a conduit for that force. And so he's trying to relate to this Christian man, I'm not worshiping a hunk of wood like some madman that has sipped on some bad rice wine. I'm telling you that this image is a means of conjuring a greater idea and giving it a concrete form for understanding. You allow it to walk here as it may. But the Christian man is not swayed by that. He's kind of just like, but this is wood, this is man-made, this is of the earth. God is not that. God is divine. He's above all of this. And so God is seen as detached from the world of man. I've created it and my hands are away. The will is yours within you to sin because you are of the world. And that was an idea I never could really get behind. And so it's like, politics and religion is the things that people say shouldn't be talked about. But like, in all honesty, like in all authentic honesty, those are the two things that keep people sedated. And iconography truly does impact how those things influence. And so as a guy who makes art, it's like, of course I want to talk about politics. Of course I want to talk about religion. Of course I'm going to have to learn history. And so as an artist, I'm going to have to consume other things. I'm going to have to get into other stuff. I'm going to have to be invested in other things besides just the act of creation, so that when I approach creating, there's a love there and an understanding there, because I'm actually touching, feeling everything else. Not creating for the sake of feeling mighty because I've made, but because I understand. This act of creation is reinforcing an understanding. And so, with iconography that can be deemed inflammatory to the state, or iconography that is against certain religious ideals, they can hook into people and have actual form. These things matter. Like when people look at art in real life, their mind lights up. Our minds react to it. And so there has to be a connection, whether established. There's a plane over my house. There has to be a connection between there actually has to be a connection they're established between the observer or auto and the art itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, this substance has a real attachment to you, and that matters. And so, honestly, when I record these mini frog videos, let's just call these like pads or something. So not a podcast, the pads. I don't know if that's right. I don't think I can do that. Never mind. But these little smaller episodes where I yap. But this is just to get out the sentiment of the spiritual nature of art. There has to be this living aspect to it. That's why AI really just doesn't work for me. Like, for a lot of people, when they delve into art, they get into their own level of spirituality, theology. Like, I don't even think there's anything wrong with being a Christian necessarily, but how Christianity has impacted me as a black man in the South, it cannot be ignored. And I think there is a way for me that is not aligned with that. And I think, as of right now, that makes sense for me. I don't have to be like, oh, Christians, I hate you. Whatever. Y'all praise the Lord, and that's fine. But I have to keep it firm for me. I believe in something different. That's it. But I think to wrap this little video up, please support my Patreon. I know I've playing. They fly over here a lot. Support my Patreon, by the way, because support my Patreon. I post my Comic E-Kings there early when it comes out, and I usually try to have them out by the monthly, and that gives me time to at least get a minimum out on time for the audience, so y'all can experience it early, and it can have actually somewhat of a consistent schedule. I also would like to post videos there early, so I could probably just put this on the Patreon as well, and then I also have just another video to put on there, solely for there. But besides all that, support my Patreon if you can. It's like $1, $3, $5. Read E-Kings on Webtoon, because it delves into basically everything I talked about. And I'm not going to hold you too long. You should get in the green. And if you're not following my Instagram, you're an instant sham. Yeah, I said it. You need to tap into all the stuff I be at. You'll understand what I mean then. I won't have to speak cryptic and infable. Like Bruce Leroy from The Last Dragon. I love that movie. I love that movie. I love that movie. Anyway, I'm not gonna hold you too long. You've got to make your daily move. Please,
honestly,
get in the green.
Can't say how I'm feeling inside. I wanna be serious, but got too much pride. I wanna be serious, but I really help. Don't really like help, but I tell you I tried. I did everything else but cry. I done smoke all my weed, young nigga on fried. You can see how this shit in